Hey folks, I wanted to make a little video explaining some of I put out that little thing on Instagram saying I got an iPad and I got an iPhone so I can make the iOS version of ChordieApp. In 2018, I had started working on the iOS version around the time my son was born. I'd been working on some big rewrites prior to then, and I'm now looking again at that code, and what I wanted to do in this video was just kind of talk about like where I am with this project and like some of the parts I'm looking at. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this updated keyboard. Now, here's what's funny about looking at code that's 4 years old. I don't know what I was thinking at the time that I wrote all this stuff. So I'm currently going through this code trying to figure out what was I thinking when I wrote this? This doesn't make any sense the way I did any of this stuff. If I was doing it now, I wouldn't make any of these decisions. So I wanted to take a moment and, show where this thing is in terms of what it's up to. So I need to go find some code. I'm sure this video I will chop some stuff out. Yes, right here. So let me, pre-computed image, let me set that to false. Where is this defined? Let's just set this, let's just comment that out. And comment out all this stuff. So if I run this now, this is like a kind of a fancy MIDI keyboard that I had made that had all these extra features. I'm gonna need this sustain pedal. Let's see what this even looks like. Yeah, so this is dumb right now. It's not even having any of this stuff. There was just like all of these weird problems. Like, where does this stuff get called from? It gets called from here, and this shouldn't be being called from here. Because it shouldn't be calling these functions from the from these other threads. Let me see if I can figure out how to make this work as expected. If you'll give me a moment to recode this. This is going to use the old version where I had my fancy keyboard with all my fancy graphics. Of course it doesn't. What is the problem? There's the error message. This function doesn't work. So I had this really fancy keyboard, but I hated the way these things looked. I hated how long these keys were, and I used my piano back here, and I brought out the tape measure, and I was like, how long are these keys actually supposed to be? And it's like this distance, the ratio of black key to white key is supposed to be basically black keys are a little less than 4 inches, white keys are 6 inches, so it's a 2-to-3 ratio. That is clearly not what we got here, but this thing looks really nice when you play notes. And I was like, man, that's really cool. And the accidentals and stuff, and this is all like in Chordie, the new version of ChordieApp. And then when you sustain notes and re-trigger, like, you can't hear what I'm playing because I don't have any sort of a thing turned on to play sound, but it's like when I re-trigger notes, the keys show that they're being re-triggered. And it had all these other features, and you could click on notes to turn them on and off, because I needed a way of debugging how chord changes get detected without actually bringing my MIDI controller with me into, if I'm doing stuff in the laptop in the other room, I don't want to have to haul around a MIDI controller. But yeah, so I just wanted to take a minute and show some of the junk that's like written in here where I'm just like, what was I trying to do? So there's stuff like, I got all this key count stuff because I had the ability to customize what size keyboard was displayed. Like this is showing the 88 key keyboard. These are clearly way too long. There was like so much customization because a lot of people are like, I have a 61 key keyboard, I have a 76 key keyboard, or I want to be able to customize the range because I'm only playing within this spread of notes. And like, I built all of that stuff, but I built it way back in June of 2017. That's like 4.5, 5 years ago. And I had all these mappings, and there's all this, just like the way that it communicates is really confusing. And the way that everything is drawn is even more confusing because I'm not drawing everything at the same time the paint function happens. The way I'm drawing everything, when you resize this component because for the window changes shape or whatever, or you change the number of keys or whatever in this refresh function, it literally creates all of these up and down key images. And then it goes through all of them and it populates them all from scratch. So for instance, here's how, if I pull this up again, this black key right here, you can see it's got all this like fancy code. It's got all this like fancy graphics. If I turn it on, you can see it's got some cool shapes and stuff on it happening. And all of that gets drawn by hand with color gradient stuff and drawing lines manually and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, here's how we draw the front face edge highlight. Here's how we draw the front of the key. The front of the key being this little arch that's happening right here. Here's how we draw that. Here's how we draw it in an up state, and here's how we draw it in a down state. Here's how we draw the highlight on the top of the note. I didn't have the budget to hire somebody to create me a 3D model, and I could load the images from that 3D model, so I did it all programmatically by hand. But the way I did it, like, I'm not able to really modify this after the fact because I pre-render these into these images, and then in the actual paint function that draws these notes, all I do is just say, all right, just draw that pre-rendered image. You can't modify it after the fact. And then I'm drawing all the shadow stuff after the fact. This is where all of this shadow stuff is drawn. So all the shadow stuff can be modified from this, from this stuff here. This is supposed to, well, the code I had previously was going to show it, but this one, it's basically like, in order for me to figure out how long to make this key, like that ratio that I was talking about before, how we got the length of this black key is supposed to be 2/3 the length of this white key, and it's not. Just that whole thing. In order for me to like make it so I can really dial in these colors or dial in these shapes for all of these hand programmed paths is kind of impossible. And I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I can see why I did that now to kind of optimize the paint thing. But now I can't modify it, and there's this horrible, like, this black key is so much longer than it needs to be. And look at that. You see that little, it only shows up like, yeah, there, it's finally doing it. So I can actually adjust this, and when I mouse over, you can see that the length of this shadow, which is, hidden here, the length of this little accent, which is supposed to be showing the outline of the top, is actually responds to this. But like the way I've programmed it makes it so difficult to actually dial in these colors in real time. And if that's down, this doesn't do anything, and it's only when it's up, and I don't see that unless I actually mouse over the key. So why did I design it this way 4.5 years ago? I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew something, but the way I did it was like not ideal. So I'm currently going back through it. This is the first place I'm starting, creating a really nice looking MIDI controller, so that way when you play notes, it looks a lot better than the current version of Chordie's. Is this the one? No. Is this the one? Yeah, it looks way better than the MIDI keyboard in this one. This one right here. Like, look at this. This keyboard doesn't look anywhere near as nice as this one. And I'm really hoping to make this one show up. Like if I play these notes, that doesn't look very good. Let me turn off these notes here. Oops. These notes don't look anywhere near as nice as these notes. So I'm really hoping that, the time I spend making this much more better is time well spent, and that people like the new keyboard. But I'm looking at 4-year-old code. I didn't leave myself a lot of breadcrumbs for why the things were designed the way they were designed. So I'm kind of like, all right, you know what? Let me just pick and choose what code I've got in here and design it now the way I want it to be designed. Because all of the way it draws everything, stop doing that to the chair. Stop doing that to the chair, Trixie. The way it draws everything now looks really good, but it's like, can't really edit it to make it better. So that's where I'm at with this. Anyway, I'm hoping I can do a couple more of these blogs. Let you guys know what's going on with the app, what's up with the current version that's going to come out for iOS, the version that's going to come out for Windows and Mac, and just, let people know I'm working on it. Here's what I'm currently working on. this thing is causing me a lot of problem, or I'm really happy with this new feature. I hope you guys like it, that sort of thing. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who buys ChordieApp. It means the world to me that you are choosing to support me and my family, and that you believe in the app enough to give me your hard-earned cash to support it. You have no idea how grateful I am that you guys are supporting the app. All right. Thank you again so much, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about what I'm currently working on and how, like, some of the insanity that goes into building something as pointless, well, not pointless, something as, boring as a MIDI keyboard controller. So when you play this and you're sustaining it and you go gang 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 gang, the end user gets to see that you're retriggering notes. Because if you do that with the current version of ChordieApp, if I play that here, I don't get to see it. It's only if I see music, if there's sound playing, that that those notes were retriggered. So, all right. With that said, let me press stop and get back to working on this thing. All right. Have a good one, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good night.